The moment I locked eyes with Leonardo Ramirez across the glittering ballroom of the Beverly Hills Hilton, I felt my stomach drop like I had just stepped off a cliff. 10 years had passed since UCLA, yet here he stood, the same broad-shouldered guy who once made my freshman year hell, now dressed in a tailored navy suit, laughing with old frat brothers as if he owned the room. My fists clenched around the stem of my champagne glass before I could stop myself, because the last time Leonardo had looked at me, he had shoved me against a locker and called me every name that still echoed in my nightmares. I turned away fast, hoping the crowd would swallow me, but fate, or maybe just bad luck, had other plans. Kai Thompson. His voice cut through the jazz band like a knife I hadn't heard in a decade. I froze. When I faced him, Leonardo's dark eyes weren't mocking anymore, they held something raw, almost desperate. "I didn't think you'd show up." I wanted to laugh in his face or walk away, or maybe both, but my feet stayed planted. Yeah, well, free booze and a chance to see how far everyone crawled after graduation. Couldn't resist. My words came out sharper than I intended, but Leonardo didn't flinch. Instead, he stepped closer, the scent of his cologne hitting me like a memory I had tried to bury. We ended up at a quiet corner table because apparently the universe decided tonight was the night for unfinished business. He ordered 2 whiskeys neat without asking, and I didn't protest. "Look, I know I was an asshole back then." He started, voice low so the nearby alumni wouldn't hear. "More than an asshole. I made your life miserable, and I've carried that around longer than I want to admit." I stared at the amber liquid swirling in my glass, waiting for the punchline that never came. Leonardo Ramirez apologizing? The same guy who had spray-painted slurs on my dorm door, the same one who laughed when my first boyfriend dumped me after hearing the rumors? Felt like a trap. Yet something in his tone cracked open a door I had nailed shut years ago. Flashbacks hit me hard while he talked. Freshman orientation, Leonardo was the star quarterback everyone wanted to be or be with. I was the quiet art major from Ohio trying to disappear in oversized hoodies. He zeroed in on me from day one, calling me "pretty boy" in the locker room after gym class, making sure the whole floor heard. I told myself it was just typical jock crap, but deep down I knew it was more. I was different, and he saw it before I even had the words. By sophomore year, the bullying had escalated. He and his crew cornered me outside the library one night, Leonardo's face inches from mine, breath hot with beer. "You think nobody notices how you look at guys?" he had hissed. I had shoved him off and run, but the damage was done. Rumors spread, I lost friends, I questioned everything about myself until I transferred dorms and buried myself in double majors just to stay invisible. Now, sitting across from him at the reunion, I realized the anger I had carried wasn't just hate, it was fear mixed with something I refused to name. Leonardo kept talking about his law career in Chicago, how he had almost not come tonight because he knew I might be here. "I got sober 3 years ago," he said quietly. "Therapy too. Turns out beating up on you was me beating up on myself." The words landed like a fist to the chest. I wanted to tell him to go to hell, but instead I heard myself say, "Prove it." He looked up surprised, then nodded once. "Dinner tomorrow? Just us? No reunion bullshit?" I should have said no. Instead, I wrote my number on a napkin and slid it across the table. As I walked out into the cool California night air, my heart hammered with a mix of rage and something dangerously close to hope. I had come to the reunion to close old chapters, not open new ones. But Leonardo Ramirez had just ripped the book wide open. The next evening, I met Leonardo at a small Italian place in West Hollywood, the kind of spot where the waiters knew everyone's name and the lighting was soft enough to hide secrets. I arrived early, nerves buzzing like live wires under my skin. Part of me hoped he would ghost me, another part prayed he wouldn't. When he walked in wearing jeans and a simple white button-down, looking nothing like the polished lawyer from last night, my breath caught. He looked real vulnerable even. We ordered pasta and talked for hours. Not about the past at first, but about life after UCLA. I told him about my graphic design studio in Brooklyn, how I had built it from nothing after moving east to escape everything California represented. He listened without interrupting, nodding at the right moments. Then he opened up about his own path, the pressure from his traditional Mexican-American family to be the golden son, the star athlete, the straight success story. "I was drowning, Kai," he admitted, pushing his plate aside. Every time I saw you, it was like looking in a mirror I didn't want to see. So I pushed you away instead of facing it. The confession hung between us, heavy and honest. I felt the old wounds crack open, but this time the pain had company, understanding. We walked the streets after dinner, the city lights reflecting off the pavement like scattered stars. When he reached for my hand, I didn't pull away. His palm was warm, calloused from years of football and now gym routines that kept him looking like the athlete he once was. Back at my hotel room, we didn't rush anything. We sat on the balcony talking until the sky turned pink with dawn. He told me about the nights he had cried alone after bullying me, the guilt that followed him through law school. I shared how I had dated guys who never measured up because I was always waiting for someone to see the real me. By morning, I realized I wasn't talking to my bully anymore. I was talking to Leonardo, a man who had been just as lost as I was. But real life crashed in fast. My phone buzzed with texts from my sister back in Ohio asking about the reunion. She had no idea I was gay, let alone sitting across from the guy who once made me question if I even deserved to exist. Leonardo noticed my tension. "Family stuff?" he asked softly. I nodded, not ready to dive deeper. He didn't push, just squeezed my shoulder and said, "We don't have to figure everything out tonight." We spent the next few days sneaking around Los Angeles like teenagers. Coffee runs in Silver Lake, hikes in Griffith Park, even a quiet drive up the coast where the Pacific stretched endless and forgiving. Each moment chipped away at the wall I had built. Leonardo was funny, thoughtful, the kind of guy who remembered I hated olives and always ordered extra garlic bread. But the old fears lingered. What if this was just nostalgia? What if his family found out, or mine? One night, after a movie, he kissed me outside my hotel. It wasn't rushed or desperate, just soft and certain, like he had been waiting 10 years to do it right. I kissed him back, feeling something inside me shift into place. For the first time since college, I wasn't running from who I was. I was running toward it with the last person I ever expected. 2 weeks later, I flew back to New York, but Leonardo followed. He took a leave from his firm, said he needed time to sort his head. We fell into a routine that felt both brand new and strangely familiar. Mornings he made coffee while I sketched logos at my kitchen table. Evenings we cooked together, laughing when he burned the rice or I overseasoned the chicken. He met my best friend Marcus, who eyed him suspiciously at first but eventually warmed up after hearing the full story. "If he hurts you again, I'll bury him under Brooklyn Bridge," Marcus joked, but I saw the protective glint in his eye. Yet cracks started showing. Leonardo's phone rang constantly, Chicago clients demanding his return. One call from his mother hit harder than the rest. I overheard him speaking Spanish voice tight as he promised her he was focused on work and not distracted by anything. The lie sat heavy between us afterward. "She wouldn't understand," he said later, staring out my apartment window at the rainy Manhattan skyline. "Not yet." I understood the fear because mine was growing too. My parents were visiting New York next month for my birthday. They still thought I was the quiet, successful son who just hadn't met the right girl yet. Telling them about Leonardo meant opening a door I had kept locked for 28 years. The thought made my chest tighten until breathing hurt. Then came the misunderstanding that nearly broke us. Marcus threw a party at his loft, inviting half our old UCLA crew through social media. Leonardo showed up late, looking exhausted. One of the guys, an old teammate named Tyler, spotted us talking close and laughed loud enough for everyone to hear. "Ramirez and Thompson? Didn't see that coming after all the shit you gave him back in the day, Leo." The room went quiet. Leonardo's face paled, but he didn't deny it. Instead, he pulled me aside later, whispering, "I'm sorry, I should have shut that down faster." I pulled away, anger flaring fresh. "You spent years making sure everyone knew I was the freak, and now you want credit for not correcting them?" The fight escalated in the cab home, accusations flying about past pain and present honesty. We slept on opposite sides of the bed that night, the silence louder than any shout. Morning brought clarity, though. Leonardo woke me with breakfast in bed and a handwritten letter detailing every regret, every moment he wished he could redo. "I'm not that guy anymore, Kai," he wrote, "but I'll spend every day proving it if you let me." I read it twice, tears blurring the ink, then pulled him into my arms. Forgiveness wasn't easy, but it was necessary. We were both still healing, learning how to love without the weight of who we used to be. The real test came when my parents arrived. They stayed in my guest room, filling the apartment with stories of Ohio winters and church potlucks. Leonardo kept his distance, at first crashing at Marcus's place, but the tension built. One evening my mom asked why I seemed distracted. I blurted it out over dinner, the words tumbling like a dam breaking. "I'm seeing someone. His name is Leonardo. He's important to me." The silence that followed was deafening. My dad set his fork down slowly, face unreadable. "We raised you better than this, son." My mom just cried quietly. I felt the old shame rise, but Leonardo's voice echoed in my head from our late-night talks. "You don't owe anyone you're hiding anymore." So I stood my ground, told them about the bullying, the reunion, the way Leonardo had changed both of us. They left the next day, polite but distant, promising to pray on it. Leonardo held me that night while I broke down. "They'll come around or they won't," he whispered. "But I'm not going anywhere." His words were a lifeline, yet I saw the toll on him too. His own family back in Chicago had started asking questions after he missed his cousin's wedding. Pressure mounted from his law partners, who wanted him back on a high-profile case involving a conservative client. One wrong move and his career, the stability he had built, could crumble. We decided to take a trip to clear our heads, driving cross-country to a cabin in Colorado. The mountains gave us space to breathe. Mornings we hiked, afternoons we talked about the future kids' careers coming out fully. One evening by the fire, Leonardo turned to me, eyes serious. "I want to build a life with you, Kai. Openly. No more hiding." I kissed him then, feeling the last pieces of my old fear melt away. But back in New York, reality hit harder. A tabloid blog somehow got wind of us, an anonymous tip, probably from the reunion crowd. The headline read, "Former UCLA quarterback now dating college victim?" It was sensationalized garbage, but it spread. Leonardo's firm called him in for a meeting. I waited outside his office, heart pounding, while he fought for us. When he emerged, he looked drained but smiling. "They gave me an ultimatum. I chose you." The sacrifice stunned me. Leonardo had walked away from a partnership track for this, for us. Guilt mixed with gratitude swirled inside, but he just pulled me close. "Worth every second," he said. That night we lay awake, planning our next steps, a smaller firm, maybe even starting something together. The crisis had forced us to choose, and we had chosen each other. Months blurred into a new normal. Leonardo joined a boutique law practice in Brooklyn specializing in LGBTQ+ rights cases, the irony not lost on either of us. I expanded my studio, taking on projects that celebrated queer artists. We moved into a bigger apartment with a rooftop where we could watch the city lights and talk without walls. Friends noticed the change in us, both lighter somehow. Marcus even admitted, "You two are disgustingly cute now." Yet growth isn't linear. Old wounds resurfaced during a family holiday visit when Leonardo's parents flew in unannounced. They stayed at a hotel, but the dinners were tense. His mother kept asking about nice girls from church. His father pulled him aside one evening, voice low and angry in Spanish. I waited in the living room, stomach in knots, until Leonardo returned, eyes red. "They need time," he said simply. We didn't fight, but the silence afterward felt familiar, the same weight from college days. I suggested therapy together, something Leonardo had already started alone. The sessions peeled back layers we didn't know were still there. I admitted how his past words still haunted my confidence in relationships. He confessed the fear of disappointing his family had kept him in the closet longer than he should have. Each week we left stronger, communicating better. A turning point came at a Pride event in June. We marched together, hand in hand, for the first time publicly. The energy of the crowd, the cheers, the rainbow flags everywhere, it felt like stepping into sunlight after years underground. Leonardo leaned in during the parade, shouting over the music, "This is us, Kai. No going back." I laughed through happy tears because he was right. We had fought through bullying, misunderstandings, family rejection, and career risks, yet here we were unapologetically together. But one final hurdle waited. My sister called weeks later saying Mom and Dad wanted to meet Leonardo. Neutral ground, a cafe in Columbus. The flight felt endless. When we sat down, my parents looked older, smaller somehow. Dad spoke, first voice rough. "We don't understand it all, son. But we see how happy you are." Mom hugged Leonardo awkwardly at first, then tighter. "Take care of him," she whispered. It wasn't full acceptance, but it was a bridge. We left that cafe lighter than we had arrived, knowing some battles end not with victory but with quiet understanding. A year after the reunion, we stood on the same California beach where our first real date had happened. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in oranges and pinks. Leonardo had planned everything down to the picnic basket and the playlist of songs from our college days mixed with new ones we discovered together. I thought it was just an anniversary trip until he dropped to one knee, pulling out a simple silver band. "Kai Thompson, you turned my worst mistakes into the best chapter of my life. Will you marry me?" His voice cracked on the last word, eyes shining with everything we had survived. I said yes before he finished the question, pulling him up into a kiss that tasted like salt air and forever. The waves crashed around us, but nothing else mattered. We had come full circle, from enemies to strangers to lovers to partners. Life after that proposal moved fast. We planned a small wedding in New York with Marcus as best man, my sister walking me down the aisle, and Leonardo's brother flying in despite family tension. My parents attended, smiling through the ceremony, even if their eyes still held questions. Leonardo's mom sent a card with a Bible verse about love conquering all. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Today we run a joint nonprofit helping LGBTQ+ youth navigate college bullying and identity struggles. Every time a kid tells us our story gave them hope, I feel the full weight of our journey settle into something beautiful. Leonardo still teases me about my terrible dance moves at the reunion, and I still call him out when he works too late. But underneath every laugh, every argument, every quiet morning coffee is the truth we fought for. Love isn't about erasing the past, it's about building something stronger because of it. Some past hurts can be healed by love alone. True or false?